Battistone, and you're watching State and Local. Thanks for watching. I have Norfolk's dignitary is with me today. I'm very glad I was able to snag an interview. So that would be Justin Casanova-Davis. He's with me today. Justin, thank you for coming here.
No problem. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious. You worked in a city in Cambridge. Did you want to go to a small town, or did you just want to move up and be a town administrator instead of a deputy? Or how did you happen to end up here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did work in the city of Cambridge. That was also my hometown where I grew up.
Oh, right. Right.
For some significant amount of time. So they have a city form of government. They had a city manager, but I was interested in looking at town sort of form of government. So I went to Brookline, where I became an assistant town administrator.
Oh, that's right, yes.
And then after that, the opportunity for Norfolk came, and I did want to get smaller. It seems I've gone smaller in my career each time. Cambridge was about 120,000 people. Brookline is a fairly large town. It was 60,000 plus. And so, yeah, I wanted 12,000. I wanted to be more intimate, smaller, get to know more people. And Norfolk just was the right situation for me, and it interested me. And luckily, the board offered me the position, and the rest is history.
And where do you live now?
I live in Whitman now.
All right. Yep. That was the first place I interviewed for a job, 100 years ago. And it was so rural then. Yep. And I guess now it's a little more built up. So was the town, was it what you expected when you came here?
Yes, it
was.
was.
Or did you have any?
Yeah, no, I did a lot of research. I was in a good situation in Brookline where I had a great team. I had been there for 4 years. But I started evaluating what the next steps in my career would be, my life personally. So when the recruiting firm reached out to me for Norfolk, I took a lot of time to research it. I heard a lot of great things about staff here, about the community, the projects that were present. So I did my homework, and my homework paid out. It's exactly what I thought. I have a great team. There's a lot of different projects here, so it's been exciting. It's been exactly what I thought it would be.
Oh, that's
maybe
good.
A little more challenges in some aspect than I expected, but it's been great.
What might those have been?
A good example is, we had a situation with our library with a water pipe bursting. Haven't been in that situation before, and then just the other evening, our senior center pipe bursted. My first day that I became town administrator, there was a sort of incident on that required a police response. So it's been there's been a lot during it seems like 6 months now. It's been a lot for 6 months, but
it's been that long.
It's been that long. Times fly. So times flies when you're having fun. So there's been a variety of challenges, but a lot of great moments as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, where you were in Brookline, did you see here? I guess the town I know the town administrator really deals with all the boards. Did you have that kind of responsibility in Brookline?
Yeah. So we had obviously
or less so than here.
Well, actually, I think there's more so here. However, one of the big roles that my town administrator in Brookline had assigned me was to deal with sort of advisory committee, which is our finance committee. Yes. That committee has multiple subcommittee groups. So I had many different meetings or different boards that I interacted with. I've been a people person throughout my career, so I've always been assigned to various committees and boards. So it's similar, but there's, I guess, more responsibility here because obviously in a large organization, there's more bandwidth to assist in Brookline. Here we're a small, lean team, so a lot more boards that I'm involved with.
Now, you were doing something with financials, weren't you?
Yes.
But you majored in history and poli-sci at BC.
Yes.
So how did you acquire the financial expertise?
That's a very great question. I have some funny stories about that actually. I think at BC, I sort of waited to the very last sort of semesters before I graduated to take a math course because I didn't really enjoy mathematics, to be honest with you, in terms of geometry and different things like that. So I ended up waiting, and I ended up taking a robotics course. And look at my career. I've been awarded government finance awards. I've gotten national awards for the finance work that I've done.
Oh.
I edited our state finance handbook for forecasting. And like you mentioned, I'm a political science and history background. When I was in college, I was interested in going to law school. And actually, I took an internship in the city of Cambridge in the budget office because it provided me an opportunity to do public-facing work. I've always enjoyed working with people and helping people. So I worked in the budget office doing
Now, how does the budget, excuse me,
Yeah.
how does the budget office interface with people? I would think they'd be by themselves.
Exactly. Usually it typically is, and that's what intrigued me about Cambridge. There was a program that's called participatory budgeting, and so the goal was to get the community involved in budgeting and have the community decide how to spend, X amount of dollars. So
It's almost like a pilot program.
it was. We were very pioneering. A lot of other communities have taken cue from us. The city was recognized nationally. I was even invited to go to Belgium to talk about our program at one point because every year we've allocated more money. Every year we got more participation. But it was the fact that it was public facing that really interested me. So I was out in the community, but then at the same time, I was learning my love for budgeting. And so that's how I got interested in it. And I ended up taking a job at the House Ways and Means Committee for the state for my first sort of municipal job. And
This is before you ever went to Cambridge or Brookline.
fully, yes, exactly. I worked at the House Ways and Means Committee as a budget analyst. And I was in charge of public safety accounts. So over $1 billion I was in charge of being the budget analyst for. And the rest is history. I just love budgeting. And I think the strength that I have is that, I break it down. I try to keep it simple and easy because you can get lost in all the jargons and different language of finance.
Oh, yes.
But I think that's been my strength. I understand how to break it down, keep it simple, and hopefully explain it well where people can understand financing a little bit easier.
Now, I'm just curious, what did you do to get that national award? What was that for?
So luckily I've been recognized for a few different national awards. So the city of Cambridge, we were recognized for a mini bond program. Essentially, it was an innovative sort of financing project to get people invested in capital investment projects in the city. So we were pioneering
they had those many years ago in the state.
Right.
Mini bonds.
Yes.
And then I don't know what happened. I don't know, it just went away. But I remember they were pretty good. They were a pretty good vehicle for somebody who was a small investor.
Exactly. So typically, these financing deals now, they tend to offshore them to large like Fidelity and send to their customers. But this was to really allow someone who was an individual to get access to City of Cambridge is a AAA rated community, good investment vehicle. It's pretty safe. So give them opportunities, put $500 and get a bond and get a return. Typically, you would see $5,000 and they would only be for, let's say, Fidelity if they got the business. So
and they were tax-free, or state tax-free anyway.
Exactly. So that was the same thing there. So we got recognized for that. I've been recognized for finance awards for budgeting in terms of the budget books that we've submitted.
Now, do you submit those to these organizations that then make, I see.
Yeah. So it's been the Government Finance Officers Association, which is typically, that's pretty much the premier finance officer association. So I've received those awards for City of Cambridge and Brookline. Recently, I was awarded by our International City Managers Association for Early Career Leadership Award. That was a great honor, as well as the Government Finance Officers Association. I got a special award for my work in finance as well. So it's been a variety of things.
Oh, that's good.
Most importantly,
Good
the
for you.
organization which is always the importance for me. The organization is doing well, and I think that leads to individual success as well.
So I imagine by now you've met with all the different departments.
Yes.
Because the departments are really your bailiwick. It's really your responsibility, and of course the selectmen, run the town.
Right.
Have you considered going to any of the board meetings, or would you do that if there were a need to, or if there was something that was a little bit, I don't know, controversial or something in the works?
Yeah, that's a good question. I go to all the select board meetings. What I've tried to do, because there are a lot of boards and commissions, is I've tried to definitely go to board meetings that I think are, one, good for me to know. I look at all the agendas that we post, and I've tried to make myself known to a variety of residents and committee groups. So I do jump in here and there. Luckily, I was able to hire a new assistant town administrator as well, who helps and sometimes will join a meeting that I might not be able to do
Now,
with
who
my
is
schedule.
that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, her name's Kate O'Brien. She's joining us from Dover.
Really?
She had a similar role, and so I'm really excited. She started in December, so she's hit the ground running. There's been a lot for her, but I'm excited to have her.
Now, this is something you went through this select board with?
So this was a position within my office.
Right.
It didn't require select board approval, but I did have a panel where select board chairman was a part of that panel. And once we found a candidate that we were all on the same page about, we were quick to offer a position in the office, and she gladly joined us.
I only ask because typically the select board deals with, expenditures.
Yes.
You know.
And so Norfolk has a Town Administrator Act. It has specific bylaws for some of these positions. There are some positions that are solely a department head can sort of hire and doesn't require select board approval.
Oh, is that right?
Obviously, like a town administrator or fire chief or police chief,
Yes.
more select board involvement there. This position didn't require that.
I see. Yeah. Now, you must be on the board for finding the replacement for Superintendent Zinni.
I am not.
Oh, you're not?
No, they have a specific school committee group that is leading that front there.
Really?
However, I am very in touch with it. I've been trying to stay abreast of that situation because that is a colleague that I'll be working with. So I'm looking. Obviously, we're disappointed to see Paul leave because he's been a great partner so far that have been here. I wish him well in his future endeavors.
Is this like a retirement?
Yes. So I wish him well in his retirement, but I look forward to his replacement and having a good relationship with them as well.
I just assumed. I'm surprised. I would think the town administrators of all 3 towns would be involved in that.
No, the school committee's leading that effort there.
Now, all right, you know what? I think Jim Leon is on that.
Yes.
But I think he was already on. He'd been on it for a little while.
Yes.
Do you have any idea when they might be coming up with somebody, or if they narrowed it? Do you know anything about that? Or is it?
I can't speak to it. I would defer to Jim or one of the members that's leading that front there.
No,
but it'll be
I'm
quick
laughing
because Paul's going to be retiring at the end of this academic year.
No, I'm laughing because I think a lot of people feel that the school committee is kind of its own. How shall I say? That they act on their own initiative and they sort of have their own thing that they do and that they have a lot of say, about what they do, but that it's kept among themselves in a sense. Right. Not secret, but they do their own. They do their own thing. And
I have a general philosophy about that.
So excuse me. So not even the select boards are on that committee.
I don't believe so. No. Obviously there's a select board and a school committee, but in the end, we're all one entity. There's a town, government, and schools are part of it. So I've always had a great relationship with our superintendents. I have a phenomenal relationship with Mr. Zinni and Ms. Lardy. So we've been great partners since I've been here. But I always think about we're all one umbrella. We all work together and we're partners. Mm-hmm, that's generally my
that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying something about the master plan a few minutes. I've never quite understood what that is. No. It's like a plan that goes out about 10 years or something, of kind of a prediction of.
Exactly. So it's a master plan, a strategic plan. They sort of interchange. It depends what communities you use. It's actually one of the things that really excited me about Norfolk, because when you look at the strategic plans that Norfolk has put in place, we've kind of followed those plans. When I met Richard McCarthy, who's a town planner, he said something that he had worked on as a strategic plan when he was initially here. When he came back and returned, it was exactly how they had planned for. Huh. So the strategic plan is exactly what you were saying. Is it gives you sort of a vision for what the town's going to look like in the future. So there's a lot of things going on in the town. There's questions about development. There's residential, commercial, et cetera. So this is an opportunity for residents and organization, our organization, to partner together and come up with a vision for how Norfolk's going to look for the next 5, 10, 15 plus years.
Now, is that something that's just recently started, this particular master plan?
Yes, it's sort of
since you've come.
Yeah, it's part of its initial phase. It was funded at the previous town meeting, and so we're now working with our partner MAPC. They're going to be working with our department heads, doing interviewing. We're going to reach out to the community, get community involvement. So it's going to ramp up soon. So I definitely want residents to know about that. We want them to be engaged because this is important.
The is that I assume that's a municipal.
Yeah. I don't want to badger the acronym, but yes, it's an action plan committee. It's a well-known.
Municipal action plan committee.
It's Metropolitan, I believe, is what their name is, but I may be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure, but they're well-known within the region. They work with a lot of communities. They're a great partner. This is what they do. They're a lot of planners, a lot of strategic thinking. They've done hundreds of communities throughout the Commonwealth doing this work.
And what exactly do they do? Do they look at expenses and so forth and different issues with the town, and then may make recommendations?
It's more, or I would say it's more of a facilitation and sort of a development of an actual plan, because there's a lot of work that goes into this. So it's sort of, we have our planner, Richard McCarthy. So he's kind of our front person here, working with the MAPC and our representative there. And what they do is sort of help facilitate. They help put community events on. They'll help do sort of surveying with residents.
Oh.
They're a partner in making sure the process is done correctly. That's what I would say.
I can remember who I was talking. I think it was a former board of selectmen, and he was saying that. Or it might have even been Jim, I don't know who it was now, but they were talking about, community surveys. And I don't remember of anything since I've been here. I've been here since 95, and I don't really remember any of those. I think those they're easy to do with that Survey Monkey,
Yep.
To find out, because sometimes people don't really want to say how they feel about things,
Right.
but they feel safe putting it on, in a sort of a private survey.
Right.
Are they planning anything like that you know of?
I think that's something that we're going to talk about and sort of think about. That's something that's important to me. I think one of the reasons why I've had success in some of the different organizations is community feedback and engagement is really important. So you have to do that in a variety of ways, whether it's surveying, whether it's going to certain events where people are. So that's something that Rich and I have talked about. It's very important to me. We'll definitely be looking at a variety of ways to engage the public.
Now, what does something like that cost the town to have somebody come in? Do you happen to know?
So it really depends. And for Norfolk, we've allocated about $100,000 for overall as part of our master plan. And we will see if we have to allocate further funds for it. But the most important thing is you do it correctly.
True.
Because this has monumental impact on the community. It's important to do it correctly. So we are doing that here, and I'm really excited about this process.
So have the meetings started?
The public-facing meetings have not.
Yeah.
Internal, they have. We've been working on that. Rich has been working with MAPC. They're going to be doing interviews with our department heads, sort of get our understanding of how the organization works, et cetera. So public-facing meetings will be coming soon.
So can you tell me anything about what seems to be emerging from these meetings that you've...
We haven't started them yet, so we're going to
Oh, you haven't? Oh.
No, so for internal, they're starting...
I mean internal, because you've had some preliminary meetings among yourselves, no? Not yet?
No, we're actually starting this week.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, exactly. We're really just beginning this process, but as we have more information, we're definitely going to share. We're going to try to be very engaged with the community and share that information.
Now, there's a feasibility study ongoing for the cost of the junior...
For the expansion of the school.
No, it's the Kennedy School,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Can you tell us anything about that?
Ingrid would be the best person to speak with about that. Her and I are talking about that. I know that the town has tried to engage with getting school reimbursement funds, and unfortunately the town hasn't received that.
From the state?
From the state, yeah, MSBA. So Ingrid would probably be the best person to talk about that. But they're engaged in a feasibility study. They're actively working on that at the moment, and we'll see what the report says moving forward.
Now, those have to do with what's needed and what it would cost?
Yes.
Because I think, I don't know, it's, the taxes are going to go up for an average house $500 or $600 a year. And now the school is not far behind, right? When they're thinking of expanding it?
I think the next steps would be a schematic design for the project. I don't want to speak for it because the big thing for me is to make sure that what I say is actually factual, not something that I think or anything like that. So I would defer to Ingrid. In the next couple of years, this project's going to be moving forward, I imagine.
Now, because the other thing is, and it relates to the business of the school, is all this building. I mean, I don't know if there's any way around it to stop some of it. My understanding is that, of course, you see, once that land is sold, it's just like, for example, in Dover, you don't see all of this because people are not going to sell their land.
Right.
And yet, but here there's been an awful lot of land that's been sold to developers, and already as it is, I mean, I was coming up Main Street, and there was a big long line behind me and a big long line ahead of me, and it's the middle of the afternoon. I feel like it's getting very crowded.
I think this is exactly why I'm going to be promoting the master plan and why it's so important. Because you have a variety of development that's occurring, and it's been a lot of residential development as well, because the town hasn't reached 10% is sort of affordable housing baseline.
Yeah.
So the town is subject to a lot of 40B development, and that's been occurring a lot in Norfolk. You know, there's a lot of different opportunities to do some development, hopefully in strategic areas that allows us to get to that 10% and sort of give us that that flexibility. And in the case that it is now, there is no flexibility for the town. And this is a town that has great schools. It's got a good location. So a lot of 40B developers are looking at, you know, Norfolk to develop. But strategic development is important because you mentioned the property taxes for people. You know, Norfolk has a lot of residential housing, and that's really what the tax base is here. So
Right.
sometimes you have to mitigate that with maybe commercial industrial, but that ultimately is, you know, the residents' decision, select board decision, town meeting's decision, how we go forward there. But it's really important to be involved with the master plan to understand, hey, how do these decisions have an effect on property taxes or the development within the town? That's why that strategic plan is exceptionally important to be engaged in.
Because as you know from math, I mean, it's almost impossible to reach the 10% because as more people, the 10% keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
So unless you have a real surge in your numbers in housing, you know, you add, and then there's, you know, the 10% keeps, the number of 10% keeps getting higher.
Particularly with the way that the state has
that's
done
right,
it,
isn't it?
is with yes, sort of. For example, the town has been making progress.
I mean, it's based on the population.
Yes, exactly. So what they've taken that population off is the census. So for example, you know, the census every 10 years. So for 10 years, the town has been making progress, but there's also been growth in the
Yes.
town. So the latest census figures will probably have increased population growth. So the percentage of growth or the percentage of affordable housing requirement or where our threshold will probably be a little bit lower because we've had
lower.
increased population. But the whole point of this is to have a great strategic plan on how to reach that 10%. The town recently submitted a housing production plan. Our planner and our affordable housing director were immense in that. We had that accepted by the state. So we're making progress. And I think it's just tying that all into a strategic plan, the housing production plan, and the vision from residents and how we get to that 10%.
Now, who monitors that 10%? The state?
The state, yes.
So maybe I misunderstood. So the higher the population, the higher that 10% is going to be.
The higher threshold is to reach that 10%, yeah.
You know, the higher, yeah.
Right.
So, because I notice over in Medway, it's just astonishing. On 109 down there, there's this massive place that they've built. I mean, it looks like it would be a city hospital. And, you know, I don't know, you know, maybe they've decided they want to, you know, try to, you know, really move on that, you know, on that 10%. But, and I've also been told that if you, if the town doesn't allow, say, a developer to put in 40B, that then the developer can make it all 40B. Have you ever heard of that? I believe that's the case. So the town is a little bit, you know, required to go along with the builder.
I think I might have been a little confused by the question. However, with a 40B project, you're required when you don't reach that 10%. That's why this 10% figure, when we use it, it's so important. Essentially, when you reach 10% affordable housing, you have a little bit more flexibility to say, hey, this project, let's say it's a project that doesn't fit the character of the town where you want. When you hit 10%, well, the town can say, that's not something that we're really interested in. Try to work with the developer a little more to sort of a frame project. If you don't reach that 10%, that's where that 40B aspect comes. That developer can push forward with that project, and the town has pretty much limited
Exactly.
say
That's
in what
exactly
it does
what.
Yeah.
Now, what have you found with when you've gone to talk to the different departments? Was there anything in particular that you thought that sort of surprised you about what they were doing in any of the departments?
Well, as I said before, I did a lot of homework, and what I did know before I got here was that we had a great team in place. I guess I'll be surprised that, you know, I've gone around and visited every department personally myself. And I guess I would be surprised at just exactly how great a team we have. There's a lot of dedicated people here. I see the hard work that they put in. I'm not totally surprised, but I really have a great dedicated team here. There's a lot of different projects that we're working on.
That's what I was more, you know, not by the people, but if there are any unusual projects going on that you...
I understood the question. I wanted to give a shout out for the team because we have a great team. But projects, not a surprise because I did my work. The Southwood Hospital site is a very big project. We've got a lot of work that's going
What's that going to be, just quick? We have about 5 minutes. What is that? I haven't kept up with that myself.
We do not know what it's going to be because we are actively going through the process. We've engaged with the community. We're working with the MAPC once again on laying out some proposals, speaking with the community.
But for residential?
We do not know. I can't speak to it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Because I know quite a while ago there was somebody from New Jersey, and they were going to come in, and they were going to have all these. In each condo, there was going to be like a separate room for family members or for other people. And I don't know what happened. They bailed out. I think they were worried about the cost of cleaning that. I don't think it hasn't yet been cleaned up, I don't believe.
No, it hasn't. So that obviously poses a challenge for that site. So you've got to find a variety of ways to do it. There's been a bunch of different proposals, but we're going through the stage, we're going through the process to try and come up with something that makes sense, that the community really has.
And the town owns that property.
No, the town doesn't.
The state does the.
There's a developer that owns the property now.
Well, I meant okay.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, who had bought it from the town?
They bought it from the previous developer, but obviously it's a partnership with that developer in the town.
Yes.
Because if there's going to be any change there, as you mentioned, there has to be severe, quite a bit of remediation there, but also potentially changing zoning or something there. So there's got to be a partnership there with the community, with the town and the developer.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you think we're out of time. I hope I think we covered a lot of topics. Right. I hope you enjoyed being here.
I did. I might have to come back at some point then.
Oh, well, I was going to talk to you about that, but we'll talk off camera. Well, listen, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Justin. Yes, my guest was Justin Casanova-Davis. He's our town administrator, and he came here to talk to us about his first impressions and where he thinks things might be going. And thank you very much for watching, and I hope you'll watch again. My name is Anne Marie Battistone, and this is Norfolk Public Access.